Hey everyone, I'm Oren Yunger, managing partner in Notable Capital. My colleague Dan Cahana and I were just in Tel Aviv with Itamar Apelblat, co-founder and CEO of Token Security. Token is at the forefront of solving an emerging and critical security challenge. As businesses grow their use of cloud computing, AI, and automation, the challenge of securing non-human identities like servers, applications, and machines has become a top priority. Addressing this issue is a massive technological challenge as well as an enormous business opportunity. I'm excited to announce that we're leading Token Series A, underscoring our belief in their unique vision and huge potential. Here's our conversation with Itamar. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, first of all, it's great to be here, and we're so happy, Dan and Oren, that you guys are now part of Token Security, and we believe we can achieve some really great things together. Regarding non-human identities, right? It's a hot topic right now, and when just let's define what are non-human identities. So non-human identities is service accounts, applications that meant to interact with one another. So everything that is not human, right? It's your service principal, your IAM roles, IAM users, your app access keys, API keys. And the challenge with those identities is that as organizations adopted more cloud, SaaS applications, leveraging microservices, or moving from a monolithic approach to microservices, it's created a lot of new challenges. And the first thing that we see is the scale. The difference between human identities that you have in your organization to non-human identities is out of this world. Today, we're talking about 45 times more non-human than your human employees. And that creates a lot of new challenges in managing and securing those type of identities.
Right. And this is a great intro, and I appreciate you walking our audience through what is non-human identities. Um, so clearly there's a problem. What makes it such a unique problem that CISOs today need to take a line item and spend it on non-human identities? Do you see this as competing with existing cloud security products? Is this a complementary solution? How do you guys see it?
Yeah. So first of all, the reason that they need to address it is because, first of all, we see a lot of threat actors are targeting non-human identities. Almost every data breach that happened in the past few years were targeting identities, and most of them was non-human identities. So you have this cliche that hackers don't break in, they log in. It's very true. Now, what's another thing that created this huge challenge is that the process of creating code, of creating application, security teams are almost not involved in that process, right? So you have this challenge of lack of visibility to the identities, but also of creating a process of managing and securing them because you are now not part of it. You don't understand who these identities are belong to, how they're being consumed. And that created a lot of challenges of this almost being apart from the operational side. Now, when you look in the market, you do see solutions like CSPM and CNAP, and all of our customers, by the way, they are using those type of solutions. But when you look in identities as a whole, they're interacting with one another. They're in your on-prem, in your cloud, in your SaaS, in your vaults, in your infrastructure as code. They're basically everywhere, and you need a solution that tackles this specific problem.
So managing the lifecycle of the non-human identities.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly.
Itamar, maybe let's take a quick step back. We'd love to better understand sort of the genesis of the company and what inspired you and your co-founder Ido to tackle this problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ido and I, we were sitting in the garage and tried to understand what we want to tackle. And one day I was called for my previous organization to help them out with some type of project. So I was called. They gave me this contractor account, and I was trying to authenticate a lot of applications. And obviously, I didn't have permissions to do anything. So I was asking my friend to get these permissions, and they said, okay. And it was such a long process. So then I was thinking, okay, there's this service account that I created a few years back. Let me try to authenticate through that. And suddenly I managed to get access to the entire network, had admin access, and it was a funny moment that I could do whatever I want in this environment through a service account that was just mismanaged. And when I asked my friends why they didn't rotate the key, why they didn't do anything in the past 5 years on that identity, they were saying, we were scared that we will break down some applications, right? And then we were saying, okay, there's this big challenge today of communication between security team and the operational teams. And we wanted to help organizations solve that problem. Also, we saw a lot of threat actors that targeting non-human identities that obviously accelerated the process.
Yeah, I think you touched on a really interesting point, which is that there's sort of an entire life cycle of non-human identities that need to be managed. And part of that is a technical problem, part of that is a human problem, and the scope of that problem continues to increase. I think that what we were super impressed by is that Token brings really depth and breadth to the non-human identity space. You mentioned before, this is a hot topic, and there are a number of other players in the space. Could you maybe walk us through sort of what's unique about your approach and what's really been resonating with customers?
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. There's a lot of companies that starting to tackle this problem, and this is a good thing. It means that there's an urgent problem here to tackle and to solve, right? And when we started and tap into this market, we came with humbleness and also the right resources to solve it. So we listen to our customers and understand what is their real needs on one hand, and on the other hand, we have a great team, great investors to solve and to tackle this problem. So what makes us unique is this capabilities of mapping all those identities that are in so many different infrastructures. So if you think about it, each organization, it's like a snowflake. They have so many different IAM technologies. You want to support all of them. And at the same time, you want to support the process of managing them, right? So what we do in Token really well is connecting non-human identities to their human owners. And I think that's our biggest differentiation.
So I used to run security, and I worked for a tech company way back in the day. And I remember at one point we discovered that there's an identity, that there's a user that is connecting to all the applications. They were connecting to the database, they were connecting to the app server, and the password is something that is known inside the organization. And if a person leaves, well, that user and password still exist. And that was a problem that we cannot really fix, because every time we wanted to change that, we didn't know what are the effects of that change going to be, and what is the blast radius if somebody were to take over that user. I'm curious, what do you see today? What type of CISOs, what type of organizations are leading the charge, really understanding that this is a big problem and are leveraging Token to solving that pain?
Yeah. To be honest, almost every CISO that I'm talking with about this pain, about this problem, they immediately gets it. And the reason for that is because it's such a core problem in how organizations run code, applications, how the security teams interact with IT, with operations. Now, obviously, the early adopters of this type of technology will be either software companies that have the proportion between non-human identities and human is something out of control, and obviously the heavy regulated enterprises, so financials, insurance companies, healthcare, those are the companies that tackling it first. And there is still a lot of confusion about how to. So everyone know about the problem, but the way to solve it, it could be a bit challenging. There's a lot of vendors out there saying different things, right? And I suggest for CISO, I advise them to start by understanding the scope of the problem, and then also create a process of how they want to manage identities from now on, and then find a solution or solve it internally in their organization.
Is this just a CISO problem, or do you see interactions with developers, with DevOps teams? Who are the constituents that Token is talking to?
Yeah. So it can be just a CISO problem. It's a communication problem in some ways, right? You have the security team that's in charge of making sure that the organization is being secured, but you have the engineering team that making sure that the organization will keep deliver, right? And the DevOps team that make everything tied in together. Now, non-human identities are always tied into engineers and data engineers and people that are part of this creations of new services, of maintaining them. So security and engineering are it's a joint effort, and I think that today a lot of organizations didn't look at it that way, and that created a lot of frustration for security, but also for the operational side.
So at the end of the day, you need to become the lifecycle management of non-human identities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the only way to do that, right? Understand, okay, I have a new identity. Who is the owner? Understanding, okay, what's my rotation process for that identity? What permissions do they have? So least privilege is also a very big, important part of non-human identity, and obviously deep provision. Today, we just finished this big POC with a large enterprise, and we saw that over a third of their identities are inactive. Now that's a huge attack surface that is just sitting out there, right? That you want to reduce, and it's a low-hanging fruit. So usually when we start with the organization, that's the first thing that we help them do: remove all those identities that are redundant, that you don't need them.
In the startup world, we often say that timing is everything. Being too early is the same as being wrong. Why is this the right time for securing non-human identities?
Yeah. So I think that identities, the scale of the problem got out of control, right? And as organization creating new code, new applications, it's just getting a bigger and bigger problem. But there's also another thing that accelerated this problem, and this is AI, adoption of AI. So think about now that AI will be part of your workforce. So you will have AI agents that will now interact instead of your employees. That ties dramatically into non-human identities. Those AI are going to generate identities. You need to manage the life cycle of them. You need to understand what's the scope of the permissions of that continuously employee that always working, they're doing a lot of actions that you didn't know before, and it's now a software that's doing that, right? So that's going to be a huge challenge, and you first need to get things right with your legacy, but also understand that in order to move the business forward, you need to understand how AI going to interact with your organization, and obviously it's going to affect your identity fabric, and you need to address that.
100%.
Yeah.
I think, as you've talked about, there's a massive kind of scope of this problem, and you guys have a very big vision. We're super excited to be partnering with you, and we view this Series A as kind of one very early milestone in you achieving this vision. Maybe walk us through sort of what led to this and how you're planning on deploying this capital to serve more customers and expand Token.
Yeah. So right now we believe the best product in the market, but identities are changing, and we need to continue support this change and keep pushing our product to the next level, and at the same time allowing customers to meet this product, right? So we're going to work much harder in our go-to-market operation and market the product and meet much more customers in order to help them solve this urgent problem, and obviously focusing on AI as a big part of it.
So Itamar, several months ago, SBCI, or Silicon Valley CISO Investment, a group of 60 chief security officers from the leading organizations in the world, small and large, is a group that Dan and I work very closely with, have decided that non-human identities is a top priority problem, and have analyzed this market, met with over 10 solutions that are targeting this domain, and eventually decided that Token is the most exciting solution in this category, has the most comprehensive product with the most interesting vision and the best team. Tell us, a little bit about this partnership. How do you view it? Why is this important for the company? And how do you think this is going to play going forward?
Yeah. So it's amazing to have such a group of individuals that are now being part of the company. And for us, first of all, is a product feedback. The world of identity is changing, and in order to still be a leader in this world, we have to understand from our customers that representing the problem, how to address it and how to address this change. And SVCI is such a group of unique individuals that are representing some real business needs. will help us achieve that. And at the same time, their network is also something that that is amazing for us, and be part of this elite group is so exciting for us.
Almost like having your own customer advisory board.
Exactly. It's so people think that product market fit is something that you reach to and that's it. But the market is also changing, right? So having these people that helping you out, that are supporting you along the way, that representing the market, it's something that there's not a lot of companies that have this access to this amount of great individuals. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's particularly important here, where you have kind of the legacy identity, the move to microservices, and the adoption of AI agents all happening at the same time and all sort of addressable to token security with your solution.
Yeah, look, we made an enterprise that have 75% of their environment is still on-prem. 25% is in cloud and SaaS. Then the biggest initiative today is adopt AI, right? So you have these three war zones that you need to support, and identities are the one that interacting with all of that, right? How do you create real zero trust in your organization if you don't understand how your identities interact with one another? So that's a big challenge today.
You've really been living and breathing this problem for a long time now. What have been your major learnings from addressing the non-human identity issue, and what would you advise CISOs who are just starting to think about this?
Yeah, so I think that CISOs today need to understand the scope of the problem. So first of all, define what's our non-human identities for them, or which non-human identities do they actually care about. Because there are a few different environments, production, SaaS, so understanding the scope and then creating this inventory of all of those identities. It's a challenge, but this is the first step that I will take. Then once you understand what you have today, you need to understand where you want to go, understand how you want to manage the life cycle of those identities in the future. And then understand if you want to use a vendor, an external vendor, or to use your own internal solution, which we find very difficult to do, and we believe that you need an expert to solve this problem.
So figure out the scope, figure out the process,
and
call token security.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Itamar, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing about the critical role of non-human identities and how Token is really leading the charge. We're thrilled to be partnering with you, Ido, and the rest of the team, and we can't wait to see the impact that Token is going to make on this ecosystem now and going forward.
Exciting to have you join us. I think that it's an amazing opportunity for token security to reach to our new goals and address this such an important issue. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Itamar.